Okay, well, hello and welcome to Water, Futurism, Growth, AI, and Meeting Demand for the Future of North Texas Water. My name is Ian Seamans, and I will be your moderator for this panel. I'm the Dallas City Hall Advocate for Environment Texas. We're a nonprofit advocacy and education organization that works for clean air, clean water, parks and wildlife, and a livable climate for all Texans. Joining us today are Dr. Fouad, Water Resources Extension Specialist at Texas A&M AgriLife University. Dr. Jabber is a professor and integrated water resources management extension specialist with the Biological and Agricultural Engineering Department at Texas A&M AgriLife Extension, located at the Texas AgriLife Research and Extension Center in Dallas. A lot of extension in there. He has been conducting research and extension programs related to green stormwater infrastructure, nature-based systems, stream restoration, and climate change resiliency studies since 2002, with funding to his program exceeding $3 million. He has published several refereed journal articles, conference proceedings papers, in addition to extension publications and governmental reports. Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Trevor. And then we also have Jenna Covington, Executive Director of the North Texas Municipal Water District. She oversees all aspects of the wholesale provider for water, wastewater, and solid waste management services for over 2.3 million people in one of the fastest growing regions in the United States. Wholesale services are provided for up to 80 different communities across 2,200 square miles in 10 North Texas counties with an annual budget of more than $821 million. She also serves on the boards of the Texas Water Conservation Association and the John Bunker Sands Wetland Center. She is a member of the Texas Water Development Board Region C Water Planning Group, a long name that we will be talking about today. And then also the Texas Tech University Civil, Environmental, and Construction Engineering Academy. She is a wife and a mother of 3. Congratulations. We also have Sarah Standifer, Director of the Dallas Water Utilities. Sarah Standifer has over 20 years of public service experience. Ms. Standifer was named Director of Dallas Water Utilities, DWU, in 2024 and is responsible for over 1,600 employees with a budget of $1.2 billion. We just keep increasing those numbers with every single one. As chief executive of one of the largest water utilities in the region, DWU provides water, wastewater, and stormwater services, including storm drainage and flood control services, to more than 2.6 million customers in Dallas and 27 different surrounding cities. Ms. Standifer is also responsible for developing new water resources, continuing the infrastructure upgrades throughout the community, and building regional partnerships. She also serves as the vice chair of the State of Texas Trinity Regional Flood Board, and she holds a Master of Public Administration from the University of North Texas. Thank you all for being here today. So today we are talking about a very important topic, water. Water in North Texas and the growing demand for it that we expect to see over the coming decades. But water isn't just a North Texas issue. According to the Texas Water Development Board water plan, some Texas cities could see severe water shortages by as soon as 2030. So as we speak, the Texas legislature is in session and funding for water is one of their top priorities, with more than $1 billion of funding proposed. What I'd like to talk about in this panel is the position of North Texas in all of this, what the projected demand for water is, and the potential problem areas, as well as what we're going to do about it. Okay, with all of that, let's get into the questions. So I just read off all of those really great bios. I'm sure some of our audience members still have some questions to start off with, and we'll start at the end there. Would you please kind of explain what the role of your organization is in regards to water?
So, good afternoon. Dallas Water Utilities serves not only as a retail but a wholesale provider. So, when we look at our region and we're looking at how it breaks down, whether it is water services that we turn around and sell treated or untreated water to other communities, or we're providing it to our own community, wastewater services, which we're providing both our own community and other communities their treatment of wastewater, and then our drainage services across the region. We've got a big role with a lot of really dedicated employees. We run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and have both operational capacity and then about $400 million a year in annual capital investments. So at any point in time, for those of you that live in Dallas, at any point in time, you may see a Dallas Water Utilities truck, and they're working on some piece of your water system, whether it is drinking water or wastewater or rain flood type water.
All right, good afternoon. It's wonderful to be with you all. Welcome to North Texas. For those of you that came from out of town, we're happy to have you here. North Texas Municipal Water District is a wholesale provider, meaning that we don't provide the retail services. We partner with communities across the North Texas region who provide the retail services to homes and businesses across the region. So we contract with communities to provide 3 core service areas: water, drinking water, wastewater, moving water to wastewater treatment plants, and then converting it from wastewater into clean water at our facilities before discharging it into our community's waterways. And solid waste, where we operate transfer stations and a significant landfill. So the work that we do each day at North Texas Municipal Water District is really about protecting public health, protecting the environment, and enabling the growth and the economic prosperity that we've got here in the North Texas area and this high quality of life to continue. One of the most significant things that we've been challenged with since we were founded back in the 50s and continue to be challenged with today is just the tremendous growth of our region. When we began providing service to our original member cities back in 1956, we were serving 32,000 people. Since that time, our service population has doubled more than 6 times, and we're serving 2.3 million today. And again, looking for our service population to again double in our planning horizon. So growth is a significant challenge for us, and one that we work toward keeping up with each and every day.
So again, my name is Fouad Jaber. I am here representing Texas A&M AgriLife Extension. And so Extension is basically the large-scale adult education for science, specifically agricultural practices, that is a federally mandated requirement from every land-grant university in the United States. Texas A&M is the land-grant university of the state of Texas. And so we have a large extension branch, which we renamed AgriLife Extension. And we have people that do all kinds of work, from entomology, insects, plant growth, production. I happen to be located here at the Dallas Center, which is focused on urban issues, and I'm a water resources engineer. So since I've joined back in 2007, I have focused my work on something called green stormwater infrastructure, which I'll tell you about later. But basically, I look at using nature to reduce the impact of urbanization on water quality as well as flooding across the state, actually.
Thank y'all all. So I want to start off this with Jenna, and Sarah, you might want to jump in on this as well. With the demand portion, everybody here knows that Dallas-Fort Worth is growing, and growing really quickly right now. So the question is how much are we growing? What is that demand expected to look like over the next 25 or 50 years, or even beyond that? What are y'all planning on? And furthermore, what areas are you seeing that growth happen the most in?
All right, so growth, as I mentioned earlier, is something that's a real challenge for us to keep up with, and something that's so incredibly important, as access to safe and reliable water supplies is absolutely imperative. So since when the 2020 census happened, we hit a major threshold of serving 2 million North Texans. Since that time, we've been seeing between 70 and 80,000 people per year moving into our service area, and none of them are bringing water with them, is a funny phrase we like to use. So with that, we're already up to 2.3 million folks that we're serving. And the water that we deliver today is all surface water. So it's pulled from reservoirs across the region. And it's pulled from about 5 different reservoirs, where maybe I can talk in a little bit about Bodark Lake, which is our newest reservoir in the state of Texas that we're really proud of. But generally, we're pulling water from reservoirs, and then we're making use of it. And then we also are very large in practicing of water reuse and have really been pushing hard for water conservation over the last few decades. So we pull water in from reservoirs, we make use of it within our communities, and then discharge it as clean water after it's treated through a wastewater treatment plant into our community's waterways, and then we pick it back up and make use of it again. So when we look at water supplies into the future, we currently have around 400 million gallons per day available to us on an annual average basis. And when we look at our planning horizon, we need about that much more between now and 2080. With that said, there's not any one solution that's going to meet all of our needs. It's going to be an array of solutions, but at the top of that list is water reuse and water conservation. So we're always looking to identify what our next supplies are and ensure that we're able to meet the needs of our growing communities.
Thank you so much. And then kind of to follow up on that as well, Sarah, all of these suburbs are popping out all the way to the border of Oklahoma, basically. Sometime we will have Oklahomans that are members of the DFW area as well. How much of that growth are you expecting, that basically doubling by 2080? How much of that growth is expected in the DWU area versus what we're thinking, broader, farther out there?
So Jenna hit all the high points for you, right? In all of our planning areas and our service areas, we're all seeing a double of population. So in December of 2024, we approved our long-range water supply plan. It takes us through 2080. We'll see twice the population. Our growth is really coming largely from the southern Dallas County community beyond. We've kind of got our service areas split up a little bit, where Jenna takes care of some of the northern side, and we've got the southern side. Our southern communities increased consumption 40% since 2014. And so every one of our plans are worked at a regional level. They all work together. Big piece that we talk about is that partnerships are going to be what get us there. And that partnership is not only with the water utility providers, but it's also with all of us, right? So it's a partnership at our homes. It's a partnership in the schools. It's a partnership in the business community. New technologies and the way that we're building centers and requiring people to build things are just as important as reuse and conservation and new supply.
Thank you. So y'all both deal with, the pipes and the reservoirs, the lakes. I'd like to also hear from Dr. Jabber of, what is green stormwater infrastructure? I think that that's, a very common term among some parts of the environmental community, but it, hasn't really made it mainstream yet, I would say, no pun intended. But yes, what is green stormwater infrastructure, and how does it relate also to the problems that we're talking about today?
Sure. So green stormwater infrastructure is also, it has another name, it's called nature-based solution. Basically, it is the idea of using nature to solve a problem. What's the problem that we're addressing here? It mainly is urbanization. Every time we build a structure, we reduce the ability of the soil to absorb water, to clean the water, because a lot of pollutants are treated as they're forced to infiltrate through the soil. And so as a result, throughout the years, a concern for flooding has made all kind of government build these systems that take that water directly to the nearest stream, which have increased the flow rate, increased the pollution, caused severe erosion. It destroyed the ecosystem, but also these waters end up in lakes that we use. These lakes are fuller, and the Corps of Engineers is required to release water when they're expecting storms, causing flooding downstream. So they just moved the problem downstream. Green stormwater infrastructure is a way where we either use nature or mimic nature to capture that water on site, wherever it's generated. So it's a distributed system, decentralized system at every house, maybe, definitely every shopping area, where we can put rain gardens. These are nature plants in depressions that can capture the water, force it to infiltrate. Or we can put permeable pavement. These are not nature, they're actually concrete or asphalt, but they're porous, they're mimicking nature, forcing water to infiltrate, and as a result, increase the infiltration. And the beauty of these practices is that they go into parts of the development that are already occupied. We're not taking extra space. Instead of having an island on in a parking lot that's elevated, that actually contributes runoff, we make the island a rain garden, and it captures the water and infiltrates it. We didn't use extra space. We just used something that had an aesthetic feature. Now it's multi-purpose. Permeable pavement, for example, you're converting where you park into material that allows water to infiltrate. Rainwater harvesting, you're just capturing water off your roof. Green roofs even, you're just putting plants on the top of your roof. So all kind of practices that don't take extra space and then try to bring us back to nature level while allowing us to develop.
I could talk a little bit about some green infrastructure that we've got as well. We had partnered with Texas A&M AgriLife to do a couple of demonstration opportunities, one in our parking lot. So he was saying, I'm the reason that you couldn't park in your parking lot for a little while. We had that under construction, but thankfully it's not done now, and we've got some rainwater harvesting happening off of our parking lot and a demonstration garden to be able to share that with folks that come through our facility. I also would like to highlight some green infrastructure that we've got associated with our engineered water cycle. So I talked a little bit, and y'all are all probably familiar with the water cycle. We learned about that in elementary school, right? There's also this engineered water cycle that we talked a little bit about as water recycles. And we are very proud of a facility that we've got where we picked up water that was formerly discharged down upstream from a wastewater treatment plant as clean water. And we constructed about a 2,000 acre constructed wetlands to polish that water through natural treatment and then return it up to water supply reservoir. So we've got a couple of our colleagues that helped us with that here in the audience from Allen Plummer and Associates. So we're using natural treatment in order to polish that water out of the river before returning it up to Lavon Lake. And we're using gravity. We're using photosynthesis with the light, and then also the uptake of some of the plants. And so by doing that, we're able to remove suspended solids and then also able to see some benefits from a nutrient standpoint. So not only is it great from an engineered water cycle standpoint, but we're also very proud that we partnered with the Rosewood Corporation out of Dallas, who had this as a functional ranch for many decades leading up to that. And we're able to partner with them and not only construct the wetlands for water use purposes, but also to provide some public education and outreach. So associated with that facility is the John Bunker Sands Wetlands Center that is located in Combine, not too far from here. And it's a place where school-age children can go and learn about wetlands ecology, learn about water conservation, and just learn how to be good stewards of their environment and their water as part of their education. So we're really proud of that partnership and the public-private aspect of it, as well as the water polishing that's a part of it, and are thinking about, as we move forward with additional growth and additional wastewater discharges, how to continue to make good use of those discharges into the future.
Thank you. So John Bunker Sands Wetland Center, as a birder, I would highly recommend that everybody head out there, especially right now during migration season. But also there is a place closer to home. Could you talk a little bit about Dallas Water Commons as well, Sarah?
Well, so I was gonna plug the upper chain of wetlands and the lower chain of wetlands as a birder, right there at 4747 Great Trinity Forest Way, just down the road, right? It is a very similar concept. They're hydraulic wetlands. They're what I tell everybody. They're the early sort of engineering and environmental feats, right? It was a hydraulic need. It helps to reduce flooding. It polishes. We all worked so well between the Corps and all of our partners that the average person goes for a walk, they go birding, they go running, they don't realize that the ecosystems that we've created are man-made to really polish waters that come out of our water treatment plant and our wastewater treatment plant, sorry. So we have that, and then what Ian was referencing is our Water Commons project. That's a partnership between the Park Department, Dallas Water Utilities, and the Water Commons Foundation. That will take an existing pond system that we used to call sumps. So all of the Cedars drains into a series of 9 ponds. Those ponds will be retrofitted with some polishing and wetland habitats. We will also use that for educational and interpretation, and as close as it is to downtown, it ends up being a very unique opportunity to educate over time. So that's with a partnership as well.
Great, thank you. So pivoting a little bit to the AI portion of this, I'm sure many of you have heard about the resource consumption uses of artificial intelligence, as well as cryptocurrency and all of that. So my question to Jenna and Sarah is just how worried should we be about this? You know, how much water is actually being sucked up by these things? And, you know, is it one of these leading causes of that consumption, that demand, or should we not be too worried about it?
So I would tell you that we should all be worried about everything we build, right? We should think through this, and you've heard kind of all of us think through these things, right? The newer technology data centers, you're seeing a lot of the new ones built that are really looking at how they can recycle water on site, how they can keep that water in their own systems. I think that with each generation that we build things, we get smarter, we get more creative. Is that in the plan? Absolutely. We have review processes that go into all development across all of the municipalities and within the water districts. So as people are making development choices, we're having to guide on whether or not it is within what we can provide. Is it within the ability to continue with our public health and safety initiatives? And so really it becomes a one-on-one look, just like it does with the electric grid when they look at data centers. But we're getting smarter and better, and I would challenge anyone who's engineering these facilities to continue to push the envelope to look at how you can make them more efficient.
Yeah, and I'll add, they are significant water users, but when we're talking about different ways that water can be used, one of the things that we're paying a lot of attention to is it a consumptive use or a non-consumptive use? So with a consumptive use, they make use of it once, and then it's not flowing into our community sewer system to where we can pick that water up and make use of it again through water recycling. So typically with a lot of these industrial type uses, they're non-consumptive, so they will make use of that water within their facility, but then they'll also be discharging it into the sewer system to where it can be reused down the road. As opposed to in a consumptive use, it's more like people operating their sprinkler systems at their homes or in businesses where that water is not returned, and so it's used and taken out of that engineered water cycle. With regard to data centers, kind of building on what Sarah said, is there's the water demand side of things that was kind of what you were asking about. Additionally, we're really kind of opening our eyes wider and trying to understand on the wastewater side of things, is there potential for these facilities to be doing harm to the treatment plants downstream? So a lot of the water that's used within these facilities is used for cooling purposes. And as they're using that water for cooling purposes, they're dosing chemicals in it to keep biological activity to a minimum, I would say, or trying to prevent that biological activity from happening in that cooling process. And so if there's significant dosing of those chemicals into that system, and then that's discharged into the sewer system and arrives at our wastewater treatment plants, it could do harm to them. So wastewater treatment plants, one of the major drivers to them being able to operate effectively is a biological process. And so we're really trying to dig a little bit deeper and understand what the potential of facilities such as data centers discharging these biocides into the collection system could mean for our wastewater treatment plants. So we have to kind of look at it on the water side and the wastewater side as well.
Thank you. Yes, kind of following up on that of kind of the difference between this water that is just consumed versus this, you know, non-consumed and recyclable water. Whenever we're looking at that huge growth coming down the pipe, is that primarily that non-consumptive use, or is it consuming that water largely?
So it's some of both. And when we were talking prior to this, we talked about, okay, how much of the water that you use in the North Texas Municipal Water District region is used for like municipal uses versus industrial and some of those kinds of things. So I looked back at some of the information that we collect and from the cities that we serve, and around 2/3 of the water that is used across our region is used for residential use. And so of that residential use, a portion is used indoors and a portion is used outdoors. And really, like less than 5% is actually industry in the communities that we serve. It may vary in other areas, but for us, it's less than 5%. So as we look to the future, we have been putting significant emphasis on educating our public and getting local ordinances in place to ensure that we're using water wisely into the future. We've really been focused on that for a couple of decades now, and we've seen some great progress. The amount of water that we're using per person per day now is about equivalent to one reservoir's worth of water. And when we look out over our planning horizon out to 2080, it's about 3 reservoirs worth of water that we're projecting would be conserved by people making less use of it. The greatest opportunities for those reductions are really on the outdoor water use side of things. And we really work hard to try to get folks to understand that we've got time of day, the time of days that it's appropriate to water. You don't want it evaporating. Also, that there's certain days of the week to water, and then trying to get people to not water their sidewalks. That doesn't do much. To look to plant native and have their watering cycles such that their deep roots will grow deep, so that when those droughts do come, that their plants would be able to survive. So we're really trying to lean into water conservation and get folks educated on how to be good stewards of the precious resource of water that we're all entrusted with.
Yeah, and speaking of those native plants and the deep roots and, trying to not water as much, Dr. Jabber, like, how do you see green stormwater infrastructure fitting into this as, what are you seeing as the role there for conserving as well as kind of providing some of this water back?
Very good question. So basically, some of the stuff we were addressing here is alternative water uses. Is there an opportunity? But in reality, there is a lot of potential in conservation, and it's also scientifically studied, proven. Basically, there are a lot of people developing turf grasses, for example, that use a quarter of the water that the traditional St. Augustine, Bermuda have been using. There is water conservation in itself, right? If you look at your neighbor, there's always one person in that street that waters every day. And if you just look at the water requirement, it's going to be way less than most people use. Rainwater harvesting, you can capture that water off your roof and use it to water your yard rather than let that same drop of water travel all the way down to the lake, be treated and repumped to your house. It's that same drop of water that you can capture on site, save some energy, and also have increased efficiency in using that drop of water. Again, there are a lot of potential in reuse. Gray water, for example, can be designed in new houses at a very, very marginal additional cost to the builder, and these could be actually built in a way that they seep water in your yard such that you might never need to water. And then whenever there's too much water or you want to reduce it, it will overflow back into the wastewater system. So there's all kind of research happening that just on the conservation and reuse, we could probably reduce our water consumption by 30 to 35%. So
that sounds like that would take a big chunk out of that doubling. So another kind of aspect of stormwater is the way that intersects with wastewater as well. Like you said, once it hits that storm drain and gets into the system, Texas 2036, which is a nonprofit public policy organization, They issued a report a few months ago estimating that the state will need to spend $21 billion by 2050 to fix our aging wastewater infrastructure. So all of those sewers out there that are aging and leaking and all of that. What is the role of green stormwater infrastructure in kind of bridging that gap a little bit?
So green stormwater infrastructure has a lot of benefit, right? So for one, and there's a study we did actually with the city of Dallas, we found that it could be actually cheaper to look at green stormwater infrastructure first before going for large project, right? So as we have climate change with more rainfall happening, potential more flooding, going to each neighborhood and planning a capital project is a huge project. You can start bridging the gap by starting to increase green stormwater infrastructure. And as I said, these are distributed systems. They can be at the corner of each street. They can be in the backyard of every house. And little by little, you catch up with that increase. And maybe that gives you time, because green infrastructure will not by itself completely resolve the problem. It will take a chunk out of it. And that gives you time to collect funding to do these capital projects where you can increase the size of your pipe system, your drainage system. Green infrastructure also will help with the erosion, right? It's going to capture a lot of these sediment, let them settle, and prevent them from going to these lakes that are actually sedimenting at a high rate, and we're not going to have be able to use them as we go. And every house you build upstream of a reservoir can reduce the life cycle of that reservoir unless you integrate green stormwater infrastructure in it, and thus resulting in extending the life of our water resources.
Well, that sounds like a pretty good pitch, and I will also say you can just create a little mini John Bunker Sands Wetland Center inside your yard. So kind of getting back to the issue of supply, Bodark Lake was just put into commission a couple of years ago, kind of up to the north and east of us. There's always also talk about other reservoirs for the North Texas area. Jenna, what's kind of the status of those reservoirs? What was the effect of Bodark Lake, and what are you looking at next as far as supply?
Yeah, so as we have tremendous growth, we're always needing new water, and very thankful to have Bodark Lake be the first major reservoir to come online in over 30 years in the state of Texas. It's the first reservoir that North Texas Municipal Water District has designed, built, and now operates, and it's located up in Fannin County and can deliver, during a drought of record condition, about 82 million gallons per day to our service area. We began, it's been talked about since the 80s. We began working on it in earnest through permitting in 2003 and received the state water right permit, and then was followed by the Corps of Engineers 404 permit in 2018. And we immediately broke ground on construction of the reservoir following receipt of that permit. In 2022, we began delivering water out of Bodark Lake. So we constructed a new water treatment plant that in Leonard, Texas, that treats water from Bodark Lake. It came online as a 70 million gallon per day plant, and it's already under construction to double in size up to 140, and over the next decade or so, we'll be building it out to 280 million gallons per day on a peak day basis. So we began seeing, so in development of Bodark Lake, something in development of other supplies as we look to the future, partnerships, and Sarah made reference to partnerships, are just so absolutely important for those projects to be successful. So I want to share just a little bit about some of the partnerships associated with Bodark Lake, as we believe that they're very relevant as we look to future supplies as well. So Bodark Lake covers around 16,000 acres of land. So that's about the same amount of land that the city of Allen covers. For those of you that are local here in North Texas, Allen is my hometown, and it covers about the same amount of land as Allen. Also, there was about 17,000 acres of mitigation requirements. So understanding that Bodark Lake did have an impact on some land in that area, we were required to mitigate that impact through the Corps of Engineers 404 permit. And so that was about a 1.1 to 1 ratio, where we had a little bit more mitigation land requirement than what we had the surface area of the reservoir. That mitigation property is super cool. It was an agricultural ranch that has now been turned into just a mecca of like nature type setting. It's right adjacent to the Red River, and they were able to restore kind of the natural curvature of a number of streams, 40 miles of streams on the River by Ranch property, thousands of acres of wetlands, thousands of acres of forested wetlands, and also grasslands to mitigate the impact. So that's a super cool project. Sorry, I got a little bit derailed. So we also partnered with the taxing entities in the area. So you think about all that property coming off the tax rolls. We did not want to do harm to those taxing entities, the school districts, the counties, the folks up in that area. And so as we essentially committed to keeping those taxing entities whole as we undertook that project. And now that Bodark Lake's fully developed, there's like a significant increase in the economics of Fannin County, and they're able to and they are able to now see a net positive in terms of the economic conditions in their area. Also, it's been a fantastic partnership with Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, who stocked the lake with Sherlocker bass, which are like selectively bred bass of fish that were like 13 pounds and above. And so just now, last week marked 1 year anniversary of having the lake open for recreational use. And they have been able to get some really nice bass, and there's a lot of excitement coming out of the lake from a recreational standpoint as well. So as we undertook the development of Bodark Lake, it was really important that we find ways for it to be a win-win partnership from a water supply standpoint, as well as from the locals and those that were impacted by it. We were able to acquire over 90% of the land through a willing seller, willing buyer arrangement, where folks were willing to sell their land to us at fair market value as part of that transaction. So it's as we look to the future and future water supplies, we look to build on the success of Bodark Lake and find ways to make for win-wins of both the North Texas area and our water supply needs, but also those local areas that could be impacted by it. Talking about the potential of reuse, when we look across Region C and the additional water supplies that we need over till 2080 as prepared in the Region C initially prepared plan, and we look at what we have now versus what we need. Of those needs, 45% of those future needs for the North Texas area are planned to come from water reuse and water conservation. So the water providers in the North Texas area are really bought into making best use of those existing resources that we have access to today.
Well, thank you so much. We just have a couple of minutes left, so we probably won't be able to get to questions to audience questions, because we have one other question I really want to get to that I'm sure many of you are thinking about, and that is, but what about the water bill in the Texas legislature? Or maybe that's just me because I'm obsessed with what's going on in the ledge. But so yes, Senator Perry has put forward a bill. It looks like it will probably be passed, but there is this big argument at the legislature. Everybody can agree we need more funding for water. There is a lot of different infrastructure out there that needs to be funded. But the fight is between how much should we give to supply versus how much should we give to repair and conservation. So starting with you, Sarah, as one of these organizations that is looking to possibly get some of this money if it's passed. What is kind of your breakdown? Like, what would be kind of best for your Dallas area? Of do y'all really need kind of more on the maintenance side or really more on the supply side?
So it's the legislative session, right? We'll be careful how we say this. The real answer is all of our water resources, whether it's wastewater, water supply, drainage, our own local control ability to fix and repair and maintain, it all needs to be funded. Aging infrastructure, new infrastructure needs is critical, right? And so any mechanism that the state can put in front of us that allows us to do those things becomes really important. Most of the Water Development Board money, DWU utilizes it, right? So there's loan programs, there's grant programs. We can combine those on our capital programming with our own revenue bond issuances. We've got some robust programs. I think every community should be looking at themselves, right, to figure out what we can do, whether it is beef up your leak detection programs, get faster on your repairs. So when something does break in the field, how quickly can you get there? How quickly can you address it? And then to make sure that we're making investments where it needs to be. So we have 10-year plans that are funded over on our side, and that's not just about age of infrastructure. We've still got early 1900s, late 1800 pipes in the ground. Some of those pipes were built wonderfully. They work very well. If you look at them, sometimes they don't like to work again. So we're going to let them stay in place unless we need to upsize them. So I think it's really about all of us doing our part in communities to take care of what we have and to beef that up. And whatever funding source we can get, whether it's local funding, state funding, or federal funding, we should be pursuing those because the ratepayers deserve every bit of low-cost money we can get out there.
All right. Well, we are at time, but Jenna, I'll give you 10 seconds or so just because I really want to get your response.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're super excited about the interest in the legislature for funding water infrastructure. So in the past, back in, I think it was 2013, there was a $2 billion investment. 2 years ago, there was a $1 billion investment. This year, both the House and the Senate draft budgets have an initial investment of $2.5 billion, so the largest we've ever seen. And then there's really good momentum around $1 billion per year for some number of years into the future. So it's really a Texas-sized investment, as Governor would say, and we're excited about it. In terms of the allocation between the water supply side of things or aging infrastructure, we've been advocating for flexibility of the Texas Water Development Board. They are really the ones that are tasked with managing these funds and allocating to the funds to meet the needs of Texans, whether it be rural, suburban, city funds, whether it be new water supply, aging infrastructure. We think all of those are important. And so we've been advocating for flexibility on the part of the Texas Water Development Board to be able to allocate on a year-by-year need basis.
All right. Well, thank you all so much. Let's give them a round of applause.